If you have made this journey this far, then I have to say you that congratulations. And I'm really happy that you've learned so much. So for the last part of the beginner tutorial of the Unity, I'm trying to combine those things as one video because they're not very complex or long topics. So they are short, I try to combine them into one video. And they consist of scene management, UI, and also managing audio and sound. So first, let's add a button here so that when you press on that, first you see the click sound. So we kind of work with the audio and also the scene changes. So you will be familiar with the scene change and also with the audio and also with the UI. So good. So with one thing, we can learn three things. So for the button, first, I want to make a panel. So right click, UI, panel. And you see that there is a canvas. I didn't create the canvas, but automatically it came here because I didn't have that. So at first it created it. And don't worry if you say, okay, why this is so small, but the canvas is very big. This is your game, but this is canvas. But don't worry, if you go to the game, the canvas and everything that you have in the camera view are the same size. But here, yes, it has a weird ratio. And also I have event system. If you want to work with the button, you click on them and do things, you need that. Don't erase it. You have to have that. And now I want to make it um, to be fit as the size of the camera. So then, as it is 2D, you can make this stay there. And also, there are different things, for example, and if they have different usages. But for now, we're using this. Also, on the canvas, select scale with screen size. For example, if you want HD, you say this 1020 and say we to match with this. So yeah, for example, if you're on the phone, this part is shown because usually the phone has this ratio, and even if they don't have, they kind of resize it itself. But there are also codes that if the ratio of the phone is different, then it will use different techniques like, the black bars in order to keep the ratio. So your ratio is this. And also give the main camera, don't forget that. So your canvas, give the main camera, put this, and then this, and this. These are the four things that you need to do. And if you look at here, you see, let me go to that. So that is your everything that you see in your game when you export that, even if for the, for example, for the PC or for the phone. But do you see these areas that are not um, beneath the canvas or the panel? They are not shown here. So you know that this area is going to be rendered. So you have this. Now you have the panel. Now I want to decrease the size of the panel. Yes, the canvas has the same size. And the panel I want is bring it here. And then I want to, if you press the Alt You see that here, okay? And this is anchored to here. So on different devices, this has the same place. It is near to the top. So don't forget to do that. And now under the panel, I go to UI. You can use the bottom text mesh pro, which you may need to install a package for that. But also the previous one, the old version is good also. So now I have my bottom. I can scale it, or you can go here and scale it and give it a height and different, you can both do that here and also here. But the difference is that I tell you later that if you do this, then the quality of the text is really bad when you try to make it bigger. But if you try to increase the size of a bottom using these numbers, then the quality of text inside the bottom would be good. So always use this one. But for being faster, I just use the scale tool. So yeah, that is your bottom. And then it's just set as default that the placement is here. So press Alt also, yes, you see that it is docked here. And for the panel, you can decrease the opacity so that you don't see that ugly white thing, You can decrease that. And also, if you go there is a text, the bottom. I want to say next scene. And then yes, in the middle, you can either increase it here or set best fit and give it a min and max. So it looks like this. You can change the color of the bottom. You can, for example, give it a picture, a sprite render. For example, you can change. I don't have a good example, but yes, you can change the background. So I think this is good. And yes, you can add different bottoms. Now I give it a name, BTN next. It means that if I click on that would change the scene. Okay. Now let's write the code for that. Going here, script, C sharp, and I say scene changer. And here, let me delete the updates. And then let me write a function here. As I want to give it to the bottom, then I make it public. Then I say void. For example, I want to say that chain scene. As I want to work with the scene management, let me show you what I mean by scene. If I go to, now I have only one scene. Let me create another scene and call it scene 2. And the thing that we are currently at, let me give it a name, scene 1. And you see that the name has changed here. So you want to go to switch between this scene and the next scene. For example, this is your level 1, and then you want to go to the next level, that there is another boss, another environment. So it's good to have this to make them separate. Okay, But before that, you have to do something. You have to say using Unity Engine dot scene management. If you want to use the concepts related to changing the scene or loading and different things. And now I say scene manager dot load scene. Then it wants me the name of the scene. That is, for example, I am here. I want to click on that and I want to go to scene 2. So I exactly should give the name. It wants me a string. So I have to put in a double quotation. And now, this is fine. So how to use this code? Okay, let me go to the script, scene changer. I cannot give the code directly to the onClick. I have to first give it to some game object here and then assign that to that. Okay, I want that. Let me tell you this way. I want that first I click on this. So I go to the bottom and the onClick. I create a function, something like this, onClick. Okay, it's once the script, I cannot give this script to here. Yes, it accepts, but it doesn't work. I should give it to one of the game objects. You can give it to bottom, you can give it to panel, canvas. For example, give it to canvas. Now, the canvas has that code. Now for here, I drag the canvas to this place, and then I open that, and I find the name of the script that I gave it, and I look for that. What was the name? It was change scene. Okay, so that's it. Let's try it. You have to be aware that here in the file, building scene, you only have one scene. You have to add your scene to this place too. Don't forget that. So now let's try it. Okay, we go to the next scene, which doesn't have anything because we didn't add anything to that. But we know that we are in the scene 2. So that's how we go to scenes. Now, should I make different functions for everything? For example, for scene 2, for scene 3? No, I can do another thing. I can say a string and say a name, scene, and then give it to that. So I give it a parameter, and then you can change it. Here, let me go to that place. Okay, let me bring it again. Change scene. Now it wants you the name of the scene here. For example, scene 2. Now imagine that you have another button and there is another scene. Okay, let's create, where is that scene? I call it scene 3. But for the next button, you just need this one and you change that. So the code is the same. But you can use thousands of different buttons and give them and only change the value here. Okay, so now let's save it and try that. If I press yes, scene 2. Now what if I click on this? It should go to scene. Again, we didn't have added here. So let me go and add it here. I click on that and then I go to scene 3. So now we've been familiar with the UI, the bottom, you know, the panel, the canvas, and yes, there are other components like um, yeah, text. These are the things that we mostly use, like text. This is just simple text that you can, um, for example, to show the score of the coin, you can use it. It has nothing. It just adds something or update it, which inside a project I'd tell you more. And also, we've been familiar with changing the scene. Now, let's talk about how to add an audio. For example, when I click on that, it play me a sound and then it goes to the next scene. So now in the assets, let's create another folder called uh, music or audio or everything that's recognizable for you later, and then drag and drop your musics. If you don't want to drag and drop, you can go to Show in Explorer and you can copy and paste your files here. I have imported my sounds. The first one is this, and the second one is that. So I want to use these two sounds. So where did I attach the code? Here. And I add an audio sound. Uncheck that because if you say play on awake, whenever that the game is played at the beginning, the sound is played. It's good for the background music, but not for this one. So I have this, and then here I say private audio source. I say, for example, audio. Okay, and then as you see here, it is a component for that game object because it is a game object. And we have to say audio game object audio source. Now you have two approaches. First, you can say that audio, you say audio.play, and then you save it. And then here, you need an audio clip. So I go to music and I give it the first one. Now, when I unclick of that button, if I click on that, first the music is played and then the scene would be changed. So let's try that. So why it doesn't work? Because before even it can play the sound, we immediately change the scene. And the previous codes from the previous scene, the codes that are related to that are not executed in the next scene. So when the scene changes, the codes are completely different. So one approach is that to make a delay. So for example, when I click on the button, When I click on that, it played a sound, and after, for example, 2 seconds, the scene would change. So it has enough time to play the sound and then change the scene. And it is good for the real game scenario. For example, if your player dies, you don't want that immediately it change. For example, the scene to start from the beginning, because when a player dies, you say that, okay, start the scene again. But if you do this immediately after the player dies, it is not very good, and it is weird. So first the player dies, and if you, for example, give 1 or 2 seconds, and then the current or the next scene would start. Okay, so we do the same thing. And also it's good for reviewing the quarantine. Okay, so now we say I enumerator. For example, we say waiting, and then we say, what was that? Yield, what's that? Yield, return, new, wait for second. For how many seconds? For example, 2F, 2 seconds. First wait, and then load the scene. But I give you error, so I give it to that. And then it doesn't execute until I call it in other functions. And then I say a start quarantine. What was the name? It was waiting. And it's one that this parameter. So I give it to that. No, I'm sorry. What is this? This. Okay. So I click on the button. The audio will be played. Then it goes there, wait for 2 seconds, and then the scene is changed. And it also has a name of the scene here, so don't worry about that. So save your code and then come here. You see, 1, 2, and then the scene has changed. And then for this, 1, 2. Okay. Imagine that, for example, I have different things here that I want to give them different sounds. For example, imagine if it's a player. For the sword, for example, for the sound of the sword, I need to add audio source. Then for walking, I need to add audio source. For everything that I want to produce a noise, I would have to add an audio source if I want to use this format. So it's better that I use audio clip. So I have one audio source, but I change the audio clip inside the, um, you know, inside the inspector. And I say private audio clip. Yes, this is good. And then I say audio. That's which clip? For example, this one. I can give Control D and give another one. For example, for another function, I say audio.clip is equal to changer clip that's 1 and then audio.play. Okay. Let's save it and test it. But this is not a good example to show that. But in the real project that we will have, you will see how it is used. So now you see in that code there are 2 clips. First is this one, and then is this one. Okay, so if I have one audio source, but I have 2 audio clips, I can have lots and lots of audio clips that I can choose from. For example, one for sword, one for hitting, one for dying, and then this would play for us. And now I want this one to be played. So I just changed the name to this, audio, that clip is equal to that, and then audio that play. So now this sound should be here, heard. Okay, so that's it. I hope that you enjoyed the video. And as you know, it was the last part of the beginner tutorial. So please, before we go to the real project, just review the codes and try to learn them completely. So later in the main tutorial, you'll have no problem and you can grasp those ideas easier and faster.